The time has come. We made it through the drought. We survived the break. We can finally cancel our ESPN subscriptions. We can finally enjoy Saturdays again. 2026 is our year. The UFC is finally here, and we're so back.
You crazy mother...
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA, and we are back, baby. I'm super excited to get back into things. I want to get into it. All gas, no breaks, like we never left. For everyone who's coming back, returning viewers, thank you guys so much for coming back. Hopefully you guys had some time off to relax with this time off. Enjoy the holiday with your families, to chill for a little bit. But hey, we're getting right back to it. And for everyone who's new, welcome to the channel. My name's Jacob, and we cover everything UFC related, from the picks, the bits, everything you need to know. We cover all the in-depth breakdowns that you're not going to find anywhere else on this channel. So, super excited to get back into things like I talked about. I got a ton of stuff planned for this year, but we'll talk about that through the upcoming weeks and months. I got to tell you guys a little bit more about some stuff I've been working on behind the scenes, but for now, we got a card to talk about. UFC 324, going to be a banger of an event. I'm super excited about it. So without further ado, without enough rambling, the video is going to be long enough as it is. Let's get straight into it. So first up, we got Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. Now, breaking these two guys down and breaking this fight down, it's really not that complicated of a breakdown. We know with Justin Gaethje, he's the better striker. He's been able to hang against a much higher level of competition, and he's been able to shine for years and years and years against the best guys on the planet. Whereas with Paddy Pimblett, he doesn't have that experience. He's definitely not a great striker, but he has that grappling. He has that grappling background that he can rely on in this fight, and he'll be the more dangerous submission grappler in this spot. So it kind of comes down to who can have their way in this spot. Justin Gaethje, he's fought the best guys on planet Earth. I mean, we can go through these guys' recent fights. He's fighting guys like Khabib Nurmagomedov in his prime, 2020, Charles Oliveira, 2022. He's fighting some of the best guys on planet Earth in their physical primes. Even the Holloway fight. Holloway, although maybe not in his absolute prime at this point, he's still looking career best. I mean, he's kicking ass, looking really good. Other than the Ilya fight, he's been looking amazing. So it goes to show Justin Gaethje is definitely fighting the higher level of competition, and he's fighting these guys in their primes. That's what's important. When you break a guy like Paddy Pimblett down, sure, on paper, you can see names like Bobby Green, not the same. Maybe like a Tony Ferguson and be like, oh, that's a really high level, name value win, but it's not. Tony Ferguson, 2023, not the same as a Khabib in 2020, I'll tell you that much. So when you're breaking these two guys down in terms of their recent fights, we're gonna have clips playing throughout this video as I talk about different fights in this, but I guess we could start with either guy. Now with Paddy Pimblett, we know, like I said, his striking is not going to be on the level of a Justin Gaethje. We really saw that in that Jared Gordon fight. He was eating bombs. People said he should have lost that fight, and I agree. It goes to show he did not look good in that spot. And Jared Gordon is a good underrated fighter who's slept on, but he's not at the level of a Justin Gaethje, and I think he lost. Paddy Pimblett should have lost in that spot against Jared Gordon. He was eating bombs. I'm going to have some clips playing of that one. After that, Tony Ferguson fought to absolutely wash Tony Ferguson. Doesn't mean a whole lot. Bobby Green, the striking was decent on the feet. Bobby Green actually outstruck Paddy Pimblett in that spot, though. If you go break down the numbers on that one, Bobby Green outstruck Paddy Pimblett before he shot himself into a submission. It was the weirdest thing ever. But if you look at the numbers, he outstruck him there. And then Michael Chandler, Michael Chandler at this point, he's older. He's really past his prime, not the highest level of wins. And it really, yes, he was landing some good strikes against Michael Chandler. Obviously, he got a knockout eventually in that spot, but it was through the grappling. It was a ground and pound knockout. It wasn't like he just starched him on the feet. And Michael Chandler hit Paddy Pimblett with some bombs. I'm going to have some clips playing throughout this video. Like I said, of Paddy Pimblett, he is not the best on the feet. His striking's not great. It's very stiff. And that fight against Michael Chandler, he's smashing these damn uppercuts and looping these huge hooks like he's smashing an Xbox controller. It is not clean striking. And against a guy like Justin Gaethje, we know that is going to be a major problem. Justin Gaethje is not playing around on the feet. And Paddy Pimblett, he's going to be struggling here. But if we look at Justin Gaethje's recent fights, the thing that worries me about him is that even though he's the better, more technical striker in this fight, he's getting older. At 37 years old, he's been wearing damage, and it's really started to add up in recent years. Now, some of the fights that really stand out to me in terms of this is one, his fight against Charles Oliveira. We saw, yes, he gets submitted in that spot, but he gets hit bad. He gets knocked down really badly, dropped right on his ass. I mean, it was a big shot. He gets knocked down bad. Charles Oliveira submits him shortly after.
Landing a right hand.
Not a good look. And after that, Rafael Fiziev, Dustin Poirier, those are short fight. But the Max Holloway fight, that one is a really bad look. Now, it's not for what you might think. Yes, we've all seen the knockout. Yes, it's probably a top 5 knockout of all time. But the worst thing about that, in my eyes, was he gets his nose shattered in the very first round. Towards the very first round, or the end of the very first round. There's like a couple seconds left. Max Holloway hits some spinning kick, hits Justin Gaethje right on the nose. Boom, breaks his nose. He's cooked. If you guys didn't know that, you got to go watch that back. You can see it. Because you can see afterwards, Justin Gaethje, he's like adjusting his nose. He proceeds to go and fight another 4 full rounds against Max Holloway with a broken nose. One, that shows how tough Justin Gaethje is. But two, that's not a good sign. We've seen with Justin Gaethje, he's had multiple nose injuries in the past. He's had to have multiple surgeries on his nose. It's been a recurring issue that only seems to get worse and worse and worse as time progresses. So that worries me in this spot. Now, like I said, he broke his nose early on in that fight and he was able to hang for a long time. But when he got put out by Max Holloway, that was a bad look. He got put out cold, face front, on the canvas. You all have seen the clip. It was not a good look, so that worries me about the chin of Justin Gaethje. Because like I said, Justin Gaethje is going to be the better, more technical, accurate striker in this spot. But chin for chin at 37 years old, throughout all of the damages and the wars that he's gone through, is a concern. Like I said, obviously, Paddy Pimblett is the inferior striker in the spot. But if you look at their stats, knockdown ratio here, 7-3 for Justin Gaethje and 2-0 for Paddy Pimblett. We know that Paddy Pimblett is always toting that Scouser chin. And although you can't really rely on your chin, especially when you're fighting a guy like Justin Gaethje, if anyone has the better durability at this point in their careers, I gotta lean with Paddy Pimblett ever so slightly. I mean, I know we haven't seen him tested in terms of guys really testing the chin of Paddy Pimblett, but we have seen Justin Gaethje's chin really start to get worse the longer his career has gone on. Not dramatically so, but we just naturally, that's how it goes. The more damage you occur over time, the worse and worse it's going to get. And at 37 years old, obviously he's been through a ton of wars. So in terms of the striking, we know Justin Gaethje is going to be better, but I do worry about the chin. I worry about the damage. But with Paddy Pimblett, we haven't seen him face that level of adversity yet. Like I said, he's fighting guys like a washed Tony Ferguson, an older Michael Chandler, an older Bobby Green. It's not the same guys that Justin Gaethje is fighting on a fight-to-fight basis. So in terms of the striking, that's pretty much sums it up. Justin Gaethje is the better striker, but I do worry about the durability, whereas Paddy Pimblett, he does have durability plus going for him in the spot. But in terms of the grappling, Paddy Pimblett, we know, is going to be the more dangerous submission artist. The thing that worries me about Paddy Pimblett in the spot, or more so I'm worried for him, is that he doesn't have that wrestling background to take it to the ground to really be dangerous. He doesn't have that D1 All-American wrestling background. He doesn't have that. He's just a Scouser who's good on the ground, and he's good on the ground. He's a very dangerous guy on the mats, but he doesn't have that chain wrestling ability to land takedowns at will. You look at his stats, you can see 28% takedown accuracy against a much lower level of competition, whereas Justin Gaethje has a 68% takedown defense against the best guys on planet Earth. So it goes to show Paddy Pimblett, yes, he's dangerous on the ground, but I don't know if he's going to be able to really take it to the ground all that easily in this spot. I think Paddy Pimblett honestly would have a better chance of hurting Justin Gaethje and taking it to the ground, as opposed to him just going in blindly and shooting some crazy takedowns at will. So in terms of how this fight plays out overall, it is going to be very interesting. I really do think Paddy Pimblett has major holes in his striking that will be exposed in this fight in terms of just his technical ability. Guys like Jared Gordon was piecing him up. We saw Michael Chandler landing some bombs on him. Hell, Tony Ferguson was even landing some bombs on him. Guys have been able to really exploit that hole in his game. But on the other hand, we know he's going to have that grappling advantage over Justin Gaethje. So will he be able to take it to the ground? Possibly, and if he does, he probably will be able to rack up a lot of control time against Justin Gaethje, wear him down. And we have 5 rounds to work for both guys, so the cardio could be a concern. That's the one thing I want to talk about too. The last thing I will say, in terms of the cardio, there have been concerns for Paddy Pimblett. Now, the Tony Ferguson fight, he was absolutely death gassed after 3 rounds, and that I was watching that back, and I was like, oh my God, that's a huge concern. Justin Gaethje, we've seen him go 5 full rounds with a broken nose. I mean, we know he's not going to stop, so when I saw that fight against Tony Ferguson, I was like, oh shit, Paddy might be in real trouble. But if you watch his fight against Michael Chandler, yes, it doesn't go super long, but it goes into the 3rd round. He's landing a ton of volume with the ground and pound shots. He doesn't seem to really slow down all that much at all. So I really think Paddy Pimblett has improved quite a bit with his cardio, especially going into a 5-round fight like this. He's going to have to improve it quite a bit, and I think it's going to show off. I'm not too worried about his cardio going into this. We know Justin Gaethje will be fine. So I really think it's going to come down to durability. I don't see this fight likely going the distance. I think it's going to be able to see, we're going to have to see who's going to be able to hold up better, and it's going to be a tricky situation to see. So on one hand, in terms of the betting odds, as you can see, Justin Gaethje, a big underdog. I don't know if it's quite worth taking a big stab on Justin Gaethje at 37 years old. He's already talked about the R word, retiring, not the other one. He's talking about retiring. He said, if I lose this fight, I'm done. That doesn't give me a good feeling in the back of my mind. But on the other hand, Paddy Pimblett hasn't proven anything against the high level of competition to warrant this type of a line over Justin Gaethje, because he's 37. He's not 85. I mean, he's still very competent. He's still extremely dangerous. So my heart is saying Justin Gaethje, but my mind is just saying, damn, if Paddy Pimblett has amazing durability and Justin Gaethje can't knock him out, I could see just one takedown could be the end of this fight. I could see it going that way. So it's a very tough one to call for now. I guess maybe we can say for now I could lean Justin Gaethje, maybe ever so slightly. But my heart is saying Paddy Pimblett, or my mind's saying Paddy Pimblett. So it's kind of where I'm thinking. I just don't think this line should be that wide. I think the line's completely shot. The last thing I'll say about this too, you know who the UFC wants to win. If for whatever reason, if somehow this fight goes a full 5 rounds and it goes to the scorecards and it's remotely close, I would be mind blown if Justin Gaethje gets his hand raised. He has been like a thorn in the side of the UFC for the last year or so, saying, basically throwing a temper tantrum, saying, I'm going to retire if I don't get this title shot. And he says, if I lose, I'm going to retire too. So the UFC really doesn't see any value left in Justin Gaethje in terms of the old dollars. And with Paddy Pimblett, he has that side story, like a storyline arc of a superhero movie. With Ilya Topuria, they hate each other, so the beef is there. I mean, if Paddy Pimblett wins here, it'll be the best marketing, the most easiest marketing they've ever had in their entire lives. So I totally get they want Paddy Pimblett to win in the spot. 31 years old. They got a whole career with Paddy Pimblett. Trust me, the writing's on the wall for this one. But it's not going to determine who wins a fight or not. But it's just one little cherry on top of, you know who the UFC wants to win. And it's extremely evident. Kind of like a Poatan versus Big Ank. You know who they want to win. You know who they don't. Maybe that affects it. Maybe it doesn't. It's just not something I like to go against all the time. But anyway, in terms of this one, I don't know. I feel like Paddy probably gets his hand raised, but I think the line should be a lot closer. So in terms of the pick, maybe I'm not even going to say one. We'll go Justin Gaethje ever so slightly. But anyway, that does it for this one. Paddy Pimblett's probably going to be the final pick. But anyway, next up, we got Sean O'Malley versus Song Yadong. Now, this is a tricky one, and I also do not agree with the odds on this one at all. Now, the odds have been tightening quite a bit. I believe it was like, I don't know, earlier yesterday or something, Sean O'Malley was a minus about 250 favorite, and I really don't see why he should be that big of a favorite. Now, on one hand, on the striking, this is kind of like the Gaethje-Pimblett fight. On one hand, in the striking, we know Sean O'Malley is going to be the more accurate, the more technical striker. He has more volume. We know on the feet, if this was a back-and-forth kickboxing match, I'd take Sean O'Malley every day of the week, because we know with Sean O'Malley, he has a very good shin as well. That's the thing with Song Yadong. He's not going to be as accurate, he's not going to be as technical as a guy like Sean O'Malley, but we know that he has that power. He probably has more power than Sean O'Malley. When he hits guys, they feel it and they do not like it. I mean, he made Petr Yan start grappling against him. That's how bad he didn't like it at some parts throughout that fight. So it goes to show Song Yadong has that power that maybe is more so than Sean O'Malley, but Sean O'Malley has that technical advantage. Where I think Song Yadong could really shine in this spot is in that grappling, because he has to come into this. He has guys like Uriah Faber in his corner. He's being trained by good guys. He's learning. He's following. Seems like a good coachable guy. I can't imagine they have a game plan going into this of, let's go into a back and forth technical striking match against Sean O'Malley. That seems like the most stupid game plan they could physically have. What could be the best game plan for Song Yadong? I don't know. Let's do the exact same thing that we've seen work against Sean O'Malley in the past. Bring up these guys' recent fights. Sorry, I had to change the screens real quick. But anyway, what I was saying is, what we saw, in terms of the game planning, we can look for Song Yadong. What would be the best game planning for Song Yadong? I don't know. Let's see what worked against Sean O'Malley. Who did Sean O'Malley fight and lose to most recently? Bingo, Merab Dvalishvili. How did Merab win? Physicality, entering the clinch, landing takedowns. How does Song Yadong win this fight? Doing the exact same thing. Why? Because Song Yadong has the physicality advantage in this spot. He's not going to be the more technical striker, but he's stronger than Sean O'Malley. Song Yadong is a little ball of energy and power, kind of similar to Merab. I mean, he's a little lengthier, maybe not as just raw, intense strength, and maybe he doesn't have the cardio of Merab, but he does have that strength and that raw power. I'm going to be showing some clips here. He's been able to showcase that wrestling and that grappling against high-level guys. He was a problem for Petr Yan, although he did lose that fight fight, he still had moments of great success in that fight through just getting in there, making it ugly, getting it to the ground, and he was able really to have some good moments. I'm going to have some clips playing, but he was rolling around with Petr Yan on the mats too. I forget what round, it was like first or second round in that fight. He looked damn good, and I think he could do the exact same thing against a guy like Sean O'Malley in this spot. We saw Merab was able to have a ton of success with it, because when guys are not giving Sean O'Malley that space for him to work, he does have some issues at times. In the fight against Aljo, when he won the belt, he wasn't really able to show off all that much of Aljo's grappling ability. He had one or two half-ass takedowns. Wrestler who can really push the pace, who has that physicality edge over him, which for Sean O'Malley that is, when Merab had that physicality advantage over Sean O'Malley, that's when we saw him really struggle. And we know Song Yadong is so explosive, he's so powerful, he has that same physicality, maybe not the cardio, because we've seen Song Yadong does slow down in fights. We saw in that Petr Yan fight, he really started to slow down quite a bit. It was not a good look in that third round. However, we know he has that physicality to where I could see him picking up the first or second round, because we see Sean O'Malley, when he gets taken down, he can be a fish out of water at times, in the sense of sometimes when he gets it down, especially in the last two Merab fights, when he gets taken down, he just has no get-up game. He has no urgency to get back up. So I do think the path for Song Yadong in this spot is extremely live, and I feel like if Song Yadong, if his life depended on this fight, I think he'd come in here, chain wrestling like Merab, and I think he could have quite a bit of success. That's why I understand why this line is tightening, and I totally agree with it as well. I almost am going to pick Song Yadong in the spot purely because of his heart as well. That's the last thing I want to talk about with Sean O'Malley. As much as I love Sean O'Malley, I feel like the last couple, I don't want to say years, but maybe the last year or so, he doesn't have that same drive and that same hunger like he used to. Kind of like a Conor McGregor. He got to the top, got all the money, got the fame, got the status, and the drive started to drop, and he wasn't quite his old self. And we started to see a decline in terms of his performance and how much he really seemed like he wanted it. It kind of seems the same with Sean O'Malley. I mean, after that last fight, the Merab fight, the first fight, he changed up his whole identity. He dropped the rainbow hair. He came neutral. He was saying, I'm done cranking it, I'm done smoking. Like, he kind of changed up his entire personality. And in hindsight, I should have paid more attention to that. Not saying that's something that is, oh, so-and-so is acting different. Oh, he's definitely going to lose now. But it just goes to show, he's definitely not in the mental mind frame to where he was when he was chasing the belt. Now he's a lot more comfortable. He doesn't have that hunger like he had before. He's been saying, I'm going to retire. He's saying, big 2026, this might be the last year for me. And at only 31 years old, it's a major concern for Sean O'Malley in terms of his mental space and where he's at. He's already had the belt. He doesn't have that hunger. Whereas Song Yadong, he has that hunger. He's extremely hungry. He wants it so damn bad. You should watch the fight against Corey Sandhagen where, he is getting his face basically busted open, and he's like, screw that. Don't call it off. I want to keep fighting. That just goes to show this guy has absolutely zero quit in him. So even, let's say he is the less technical guy, it comes down to your heart. It comes down to how bad you want it. And I genuinely do think Song Yadong wants it a hell of a lot more than Sean O'Malley. And I think he has the way to win this fight through the grappling, really just kind of making it nitty and gritty, making it nasty. Will it be the most entertaining way to win? Absolutely not. But I don't think he's going to win a flashy fight on the feet against the striker like Sean O'Malley. His coaches know that. He's training with guys like Uriah Faber. He knows what they have to do to win this spot. They're not going to play any stupid games. So I do think if Song Yadong comes in here with an extremely smart game plan, heavy game plan, he fixes those minor holes in his cardio that he's shown in the past fights, I think he could be a serious problem here. And with Sean O'Malley, I just don't know how much he's invested. And if he's not invested 100% against a guy like Song Yadong, he's going to struggle. Similarly to the Gaethje versus Pimblett fight, though, I will say, the very last point I will say is that if Sean O'Malley were to win this fight, they can do the Petr Yan rematch, and that will be money, 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 money. Whereas Song Yadong, he's only 28 years old. He can easily take a loss, come back. Hell, Song Yadong could be a champion in 3 years' time. So if this goes to a decision, which I likely seen it going to a decision, I guess it's different than the Gaethje Pimblett fight. I don't see that one going the distance. But if this fight goes the distance, will I be mind blown if we see an O'Malley versus Yan type of situation where O'Malley gets his hand raised when people think that he should not have had his hand raised? I will not be surprised at all. So that's the last thing you got to say about this, because this fight likely goes to a decision. I don't see either guy getting finished. You look at their knockdown ratios; they both hit hard, but they both have very good chins, 6-0 to 7-0 respectively. So this fight's likely going over. It's going to be competitive. If Song is going to have moments, it's going to be in the grappling. If Sean is going to have moments, it's going to be on the feet. Are they going to weigh damage on the feet more than control and takedowns? We will have to see. So in terms of the confidence for this, yeah, it's going to be a close fight, but I will say it's kind of like the same thing with the Gaethje line. Am I dying to get on a Song Yadong underdog play? I could just see him getting robbed. There's too many concerns, but I will say in terms of the pick, I'm going to wait until the weigh-ins. I want to see how Sean O'Malley comes out. Is he going to come out like his former self? Is he going to look like he's his old self, locked in, dialed in? Or is he switching it up like he did in that last fight where he really looked career worst, honestly? So, pick for now, I guess we could go Sean O'Malley. He has proven more. He's in his physical prime right now. He's been a former champ. Song Yadong is definitely the inferior striker in this spot. If Sean O'Malley can keep it on the feet, he should be able to win, but I might just pick flip on this one, I will say. But anyway, next up, we got Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Derrick Lewis. We got the big boys scrapping. Sorry, I'm just moving up these little pictures out of the way really quick. Boom. We got Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Derrick Lewis in a heavyweight banger of a fight. Honestly, this is a pretty easy one to break down. Derrick Lewis is just 40 years old. Yes, you look through his records too, between these two guys. Yes, that win over Taliesin Teixeira was awesome. I picked Derrick Lewis as the underdog in that spot. Made some money on Derrick Lewis in that spot, so there was a good win there. But before then, it's just like, guys against Gelton Almeida was not a good look. Rodrigo Nascimento, just not great overall. Gelton Almeida, we talked about that. Marcos Rodrigo de Lima, not the best. Sergey Spivak, getting choked out by Spivak in the first round is not a good look. It just, Derrick Lewis at this point in his career, he's here for the memes. You know, he's just trying to make some money and go back to his wife. I can't blame the man. God forbid a man wants to keep a simple life. No one loves Derrick Lewis more than me. But I will say, at this point in his career, I just think this is not a fight that he is capable of winning genuinely. Because the way he's going to have to win this fight is he's going to have to put Waldo Cortes-Acosta out. We know Waldo Cortes-Acosta has an amazing chin, as you can see from the recent fights. If he's not getting knocked out by Sergey Pavlovich, yes, he lost a decision there. Very competitive back and forth fight, though. Pavlovich definitely won the fight. I think it was very, very clearly so that he won that fight. But he did have moments, technically, skill for skill, he was able to hang. And we know Pavlovich has one of the longest reaches of the entire damn division. It could be, I think it's like 82 inches or something. So Derrick Lewis does have the reach advantage in this spot, but it's not like a Pavlovich. I believe his is like 82 or something. Absolutely nuts. It's insane how long his arms are. And we know he hits hard as hell too. So in terms of a striking, in terms of like a competitive back and forth technical striking match, Pavlovich is a hell of a lot more of a difficult person to get through as opposed to a guy like Derrick Lewis, where Derrick Lewis ain't the most technical. He's going to swing. He's going to try and land some bombs on you, but his cardio is trash. His durability ain't great either. He's probably going to slow down, and the man is 40 years old. So Waldo Cortes-Acosta, he's going to be the more technical striker. He's been boxing his entire life. Yes, he transitioned to MMA. He doesn't have to worry about the takedowns of Derrick Lewis. This is going to be a striking match on the feet. Waldo Cortes-Acosta, he doesn't have the power, but he's more technical. He's faster, and he has the better durability. And that durability, that's the big thing here. It's the speed and the accuracy are one thing, but the durability is really going to matter, because Derrick Lewis can wail on you, but if you're able to just keep it on the feet and you're able to keep your head straight and not get knocked out, you probably can turn the tides, reverse things, push it back in Derrick Lewis's face. And I guarantee with Derrick Lewis, he's probably going to get hit a couple times by Waldo, and he's not going to like it, especially in his most recent fight where we saw what he did to Ante Dalia. That was a crazy look. I mean, he put him out bad. Say what you want about the stoppage and everything. I do think it was some BS. Not his fault at all, just the situation as a whole. But still, he has power. And although he's more of a volume striker, he's not really just brutalizing guys like a Derrick Lewis. I still think he could definitely put Derrick Lewis out. Would I be mind blown if this went to a decision? No, but at the same time, I do think Waldo Cortes-Acosta eventually probably is too much for Derrick Lewis to handle. He probably gets the job done. I would be surprised if Waldo loses this fight. If he lost somehow by any means, I would be surprised. The minus 300 doesn't seem like the worst line in history, honestly. I would be pretty damn surprised if he lost this week. So honestly, not a ton to break down in terms of this one. That will do it. Now, next up, we got Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. This one I got a little bit more to break down. Now, with Natalia Silva, she's been on an absolute hot streak lately. She's been undefeated in the UFC so far. Absolutely killer record. And when you look at the level of competition, what she did to Alexa Grasso in that fight, what was it, May of 2025? She put on an absolute clinic in that spot. I mean, she made Alexa Grasso look like she was an absolute novice out there. And Alexa Grasso is a former champion. So it just goes to show the striking prowess that Natalia Silva Silva has. She's an absolute menace on the feet. She's extremely dangerous. She can knock girls out. She can win a technical striking match back and forth, pitter-patter shots. I mean, she can do it all. You look at her stats as well. Look at the takedown defense, 92%. Absolutely insane what she's been able to prove in the UFC so far, because she's still, although not the most experienced, 7-0 in the UFC at only 28 years old. She's going to be a champion. It's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of when and time she's going to be the champion. She's on her damn way. She's going to be there eventually. Even before that, Jessica Andrade put on an absolute clinic. She landed over double the amount of significant strikes as Jessica Andrade in that spot. It was like 100 and something to 50 something. Absolutely insane. The one spot that I will say is, I don't want to say a bit of a concern, but it is something to point out in this spot. It is the fight against Viviane Araújo. In that spot, it was a real test of where we were able to see the grappling level of Natalia Silva. That's something I was looking for in this spot, because people think of Rose Namajunas, they think, oh, you know, she's a very good striker on the feet. But we've seen Rose Namajunas, she has some decent grappling as well, too. It's a bit slept on, it's a bit underrated. And I think on the feet and the striking, it's going to be very tough for her. I think Rose's best shot of winning this fight is going to be by implementing and mixing up the grappling in the overall approach in this fight. And the one time we've really seen Natalia Silva tested with the grappling is in that fight against Viviane Araújo. I'm going to have some clips playing where we saw she was able to have quite a bit of success. And it does worry me, because the thing about Natalia Silva is that, yes, she has a 92% takedown defense. It's very hard for girls to land takedowns on Natalia Silva. They are able to control her. So it's not even about her getting her to the ground, landing that takedown. People can still rack up control time. And we've seen Natalia Silva, she struggled with it. In that Viviane Araújo fight, she won a 29-28, but she lost the one round because Viviane Araújo was able to control her for, it was like 4-something minutes in the round that she ended up winning on the scorecards. And that's a concern, because we know Rose Namajunas, yes, she seems tiny, but she is mighty. And her most recent fight we saw when she fought Miranda Maverick, people thought going into that one, you know, Miranda Maverick, she is the short, stocky, you know, Miranda Maverick is damn near like a women's Marab. I mean, she's a little marauder. She goes in, she's very strong, she's very physically empowering, she's very good with the wrestling and the grappling. It was the exact opposite. Rose Namajunas was the one controlling and really having a lot of success with the grappling. Rose Namajunas landed her own takedowns. She hurt Miranda Maverick. She landed takedowns. She racked up control time. She racked up minutes upon minutes upon minutes of control time against a girl like Miranda Maverick, who's really a solid wrestler and grappler. That's kind of her sweet spot, is that the grappling and the control. And Rose Namajunas was able to really kind of big bro her in that spot. So in a fight like this, where I do think the striking is going to be so difficult for Rose Namajunas to have a lot of success, Rose Namajunas, her best way to win this fight would be to implement the wrestling, go for the takedowns, land control time, or try to rack up control time, because that's going to be her best shot. She doesn't even need to necessarily land the takedown. She doesn't have to backpack Natalia Silva, but she can land rack up minutes against the cage, win minutes over time, and maybe she might just be able to win a couple rounds, maybe win 2 out of 3 rounds, get it on the scorecards. I would not be mind blown, because you look at the odds here, minus 440 favorite for Natalia Silva. They're saying she's almost a lock. I mean, they're implying that she's an 80-something% chance of winning against Rose Namajunas, former champion in her physical prime. In terms of the mentality, you know, I know Rose has had some ups and downs. Her last fight, she seemed to be in great shape. She looked to be career best, maybe not career best, but she looked damn good in her last fight. So it's a weird spot, because, I mean, even you look at Rose Namajunas, she's had some funny fights, like the Aaron Blanchfield fight. She won the first 2 rounds, but then completely sold the last 3 and lost that fight. And it's like, Rose Namajunas is the type of girl to knock out Weili Zhang, but then lose to Carlos Barza. It's like, there have been some hiccups in Rose Namajunas throughout the years, but you cannot argue that you can't say that she is not an elite level ladies fighter. I mean, she's absolutely been a killer throughout the years. She's very, very impressive in terms of her overall skill set. So we've seen between the most recent fights between these 2 ladies, you got to assume Rose is going to see, oh, I saw the fight against Alexa Grasso, former champion as well, saw, oh, the striking did not work out. And Alexa Grasso, she went for some takedowns, but she didn't really commit all that much. Some of the takedowns were a bit sloppy, wasn't a whole lot on them. And we've seen with Natalia Silva, when you pressure her, that's when you can have some success. You can't let her do her little snappy leg switchy shit on the feet. You can't let her get in her groove when her in her flow state. If you let her get in her flow state, that's when she's going to be landing kicks, she's going to be landing punches. It's going to be a nightmare to deal with. You got to get in, make it ugly, make it nasty. And Rose could do that. Thug Rose could definitely do that. If she goes for a grappling heavy game plan, I would not be surprised if she has a lot of success, racks up control time. She could win this. At the same time, though, I do think Natalia Silva is a genuine special talent. I do think she'll be a champion. So maybe I think she probably will be able to get it done against Rose. I just can't say I would be mind blown if she were to lose the spot. And I will say, I think the odds are completely shot on this. I don't think there's any value here because you're just praying that Rose doesn't implement any type of grappling. Because on the feet, yeah, that's where Natalia Silva shines, but grappling is not her strong suit. She has good takedown defense, but when she's on the ground, not the best. So I will say, the pick will be Natalia Silva, but you got to be a little bit hesitant on this one. You got to be a little reluctant. I wouldn't just go spamming Natalia Silva in every single damn parlay. But anyway, next up, we got Arnold Allen versus Gene Silva. I will say, people are not going to like this. Gene Silva, I think, is a special talent. I've been saying it since the beginning. I think Gene Silva is going to be champion. He's going to have the featherweight title. He's going to be the champ. I am calling it. It's just a matter of when that happens. Because the only person to beat Gene Silva is Gene Silva. He lost that Diego Lopez fight because he went... I don't want to get demonetized. He went crazy man mode. We'll say that. He went crazy man mode. He went absolutely insane, and he threw that fight away. Technically, he was outclassing Diego Lopez on the feet. He just did stupid shit. The first time, in that first round, he did some spinning bullshit. Diego Lopez wrapped up a takedown, almost got him out of there. He was lucky to get out of that alive and make it to that second round. Second round comes around. He's landing absolute bombs on Diego Lopez, but Diego Lopez has a granite chin. I mean, you can't knock him out. He doesn't like that. He starts freaking out. He pisses him off. Then he goes crazy going for the finish. Diego Lopez catches him. We all know how that one went. So I will say, Gene Silva, he's only losing to himself because he's an absolute specimen. Gene Silva is the all-around package minus the sanity. He has everything else except the mental sanity. If Gene Silva had the mental sanity to stick to a smart game plan, he'd be the champion probably right now. He'd be fighting against Volk next week. But here we are in this situation. So you can't discredit Arnold Allen, though. On the other hand, I will say I'm a big Arnold Allen fan. I love Arnold Allen. I've been a fan of his. If there was any UFC fighter that I feel like I could just kick back, have a couple beers with, chill, and just vibe with as a homie, it would be Arnold Allen. I feel like we would be boys if we grew up in the same hometown, I will say. So I don't want to root against Arnold Allen here because I always want to see Arnold Allen do well. And he's had a long-ass layoff. He's been dealing with injuries. He's had a lot of BS. And we know Arnold Allen is an absolute dog. We know he's going to stand and bang. He's going to make every fight that he's in an absolute war. I'll switch over. We'll talk about some of their most recent fights as well because it's going to help to paint a better picture. And I'm going to have some visuals going on in some of the background of some of the recent fights. Now, I guess to get the pick out of the way, I'm going to pick Gene Silva. If I didn't make it clear already, I think Gene Silva is going to be the future champ. He's going to be the top dog. It's just a matter of when. But to break it down in terms of the why. Now, Arnold Allen has never been finished before. However, his chin has been a concern. Now, people can see, yeah, as you can see from his record, he's never been knocked out. But if you really break down the tape, I'm going to have the clips playing. His chin has been tested against multiple guys in multiple different fights. And I feel like people are not addressing that enough because Arnold Allen is one of these guys. He's not afraid of a war, which is, I love him for it. He's an absolute dog. But it will... I don't want to say be a detriment to him, but it could cost him down the road. Now, we looked through some of the recent fights throughout the years, some ones that really stand out to me. First, the Dan Hooker fight. I mean, that was an absolute war. I probably already have a clip playing right now of that absolute back and forth war. He gets caught in that fight, though. I know they start throwing absolute haymakers. I mean, it looked like a bar fight outside your local pub. That's how crazy it was. But he did get clipped towards the end of that fight. That was not a good look. Yes, he was able to recover well, but we saw that chin tested was not the best look. After that, the Max Holloway fight. It was so funny about that Max Holloway fight because he eats some spinning elbow or something in that fight. I'll have the clip playing, and he just eats it. Eats it on the chin like it was absolutely nothing.
Knee to the body on that side.
And I'm like, oh my God, how did Arnold Allen not get put out by that elbow? I know Max Holloway doesn't have the most amount of power, but you get hit with some elbow like that in the side of the head. I don't know how he was standing up. And then towards the very end, it's like a couple seconds left, the very last couple seconds in that fight, Max Holloway drops Arnold Allen pretty badly. The fight ended. He was able to recover, but not the best look there. And then there was one more fight too. Movsar Evloev in that fight too. Movsar drops him pretty badly. Yes, he has really good recoverability. He's able to recover pretty quickly. But you look through these recent fights, I'm like, he's getting clipped and he's getting hurt very frequently. Now you tie in the fact that he's had all these injuries. It's just, there are major concerns. He has this ring rust. He's had injuries. We've seen his chin tested and cracked pretty badly multiple times. And who do you not want to have chin issues against? Gene Silva. Gene Silva is the last man that you want to have chin issues if you are fighting. I mean, yes, Diego Lopez was able to eat his shots. Diego Lopez has a Marvin Vettori level chin, and I have never been so astonished in my life. I mean, Diego Lopez was eating absolute nuclear bombs to the dome like it was candy, and Arnold Allen just cannot do that. Every other person we've seen Gene Silva fight against, he puts them out. I mean, everyone, even guys with pretty decent chins like a Charles Jourdain who's not getting finished, put him down. He goes to show Gene Silva has this insane level of power that I really think is going to be a huge problem for Arnold Allen. Will I be surprised if Gene Silva finishes Arnold Allen? Absolutely not. Because I could see, now, if this is a back-and-forth technical striking match, kind of like what we saw with Gene Silva against Kevin Vallejos, I could see Arnold Allen having a lot of success. I could see him being a problem. You know, he is a southpaw going against the orthodox with the inch reach advantage. He has a couple things going his way. Even 31 years old in his physical prime, has a bit more years of experience compared to Gene Silva. He has some things going his way, and I could see him having a lot of success if it's a technical back-and-forth striking match. I could see it being very, very close, closer than this line implies. However, if it gets into a war, if it becomes a brawl at any point in this fight, we've seen Arnold Allen, he enjoys a good brawl. If this becomes a brawl, Gene Silva is going to put him down. Maybe he doesn't knock him out. Maybe he doesn't finish him. You do not want to brawl against Gene Silva, and Arnold Allen is a brawler, and I do not see it going well for him in the spot. So the pick-wise, like I said, if it goes to a decision, I think it could be very close. However, if it's not and it's someone's getting finished, I'm very confident that Gene Silva would be the one to finish Arnold Allen. So Gene Silva's got to be a clear pick for me this week. Fairly confident because these guys are both crash outs. You put crash out against crash out. Gene Silva probably more of a crash out than Arnold Allen, but two guys are going to go to war. I think Gene Silva is most definitely going to get his hand raised. So those are for this fight. Next up, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Deiveson Figueiredo. I saw this line and I about shit my pants. I mean, oh my goodness. How is Umar a minus 1,600 favorite against Deiveson Figueiredo? If you are throwing Umar in your parlays, go ahead and call it quits. Go ahead and call the hotline because there is absolutely zero value in that at all. I mean, I'm going to have the clips rolling here of Umar Nurmagomedov getting his chin cracked in not almost every single fight. Umar has way too many chin concerns to be throwing him in every single parlay at minus 1,600. You shouldn't do it to begin with. No fighter should ever be at minus 1,600 unless it's John Jones versus a toddler. But unless it's that, you should not be throwing the minus 1,600s in there. And because this is not that situation. People got to put some respect on Deiveson Figueiredo, especially what we saw from Deiveson in his last fight. Montel Jackson, absolute beast, power puncher, very high level guy. He beat him very impressively too. I mean, it was a very close fight, but still, Deiveson Figueiredo is by no means out of this. And we've seen, I'm going to have the clips rolling of Umar getting his chin cracked, and you compare it to Deiveson Figueiredo, you can see right down here, look at their knockdown ratios. We have Umar at a 1-to-2 knockdown ratio, meaning he's landed one knockdown and he's gotten knocked down twice. Deiveson Figueiredo, 12-to-1.
And that's a third knock.
Yeah, Deiveson Figueiredo has some power in his hands that should not be played with. Now, I will say a lot of those knockdowns, or the large majority, if not, I don't think every single one, but I do think the large majority of those were at flyweight, a weight class below. So when he moved up to bantamweight, that level of raw power, the ratio of weight to power in comparison is not quite the same. He hasn't been as powerful, but he still does hit extremely hard. And we've seen Umar get put down by guys like Mario Bautista, who doesn't really hit as hard as a Deiveson Figueiredo. I was going to pull you guys up, looking at some of the recent fights, like Umar, like we said, Mario Bautista knocked him down. Merab Dvalishvili hit him a couple times and hurt him, not quite put him out or knocked him down. He didn't get a knockdown in this fight, but still, he got hurt a couple times. Cortes-Acosta, not as much. Bekzat Almakhan, he got rocked in that fight. I mean, his chin was put on display. Not a good look. And now he's going against a guy like Deiveson Figueiredo. Like we talked about, the knockdown ratio, he has a ton of power. And we know Deiveson Figueiredo is no schmuck. Yes, he's a crafty veteran at this point in his career at 38 years old. Nothing but respect for Deiveson Figueiredo. He's an absolute dog, an absolute beast. So this line, I mean, it is completely disrespectful. And you look at their recent fight too. You look at Deiveson Figueiredo's most recent fight against Montel Jackson. How did he win that fight? Through the grappling. Who's he fighting? Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, Umar, yes, he's not just the typical Dagestani. We all know he can strike, he can grapple, he can do it all. He's extremely talented, extremely well-rounded. We know that. However, he doesn't have this just back pocket trick move like he did against Mario Bautista with the grappling. I don't think Umar will be able to just dominate Deiveson Figueiredo in the grappling like we've seen in the past with Umar against previous opponents. So I think this could be a lot closer than this line suggests, but at the same time, these guys are a lightweight, or not lightweight in terms of lightweight. They're a lower, lighter weight class, and age does matter quite a bit. Umar, 30 years old, in his physical prime at bantamweight. He's a problem, man. He's only losing to Merab. He's probably going to get the job done against Figgy. You know, I would be surprised if he were to lose the spot, unless he gets knocked out. He definitely could get finished in the spot if he gets his chin cracked. We've seen it cracked before. But I will say he's probably just going to be a step ahead in terms of the raw speed, purely just honestly due to the age at this point too. If it was a 30-year-old Figgy versus a 30-year-old Umar, that would be awesome. That would be very interesting to see how that fight played out, and I guarantee you it would be a hell of a lot closer than this line. But it's 38 years old. At the same time, it makes sense. 38-year-old bantamweight. Figgy's been through a ton of wars. We know that. So I get why Umar is a big favorite, but just this line's unplayable. But yeah, in terms of the pick, you got to pick Umar. If you're picking Figgy, you're just hoping, you're just praying for a miracle knockout that probably won't come, but a man can dream. But anyway, the pick will be Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, next up, we got Ateba Gautier versus Andrey Pulyaev. Now, this is where the line actually makes a bit more sense. I know I just said you should never ever play that big of a favorite in a parlay or call the number. This might be an exception. I will say, Ateba Gautier, future champion, future Ngannou 2.0. I will say he is going to be a real problem at 23 years old. He's already this damn good. That's the thing. It's the age factor. He has this physical specimen attribute to him, but he's 23. He's only going to get better and better and better and better and better. And who is he fighting? They're giving him another layup. Andrey Pulyaev is a guy that I have never been high of. I mean, after he got, the Contender Series fight, you could say what you want about that. It wasn't a good look. The guy he was facing really just wasn't that talented. Not the best look. I'll pull you guys up. But still, you got to give him respect. He got the win, fair and square. Nice decision win there. Against Liam Anderson, that's who it was. But that fight against Christian Leroy Duncan. Now, Christian Leroy Duncan is an extremely high-level guy. It's not to take away from CLD. It's a very, very tough opponent. CLD was playing with this man like he was taking candy from a baby. It was not competitive. There was no moments of success. I remember watching that fight and being so pissed off at Christian Leroy Duncan because it almost felt like he was trying not to get the finish. I mean, it seemed as if Christian Leroy Duncan bet on himself to win by decision. That's how crazy it was because he was not going for a finish. He could have gotten the finish a million different times throughout that fight, but he absolutely refused to have an ounce of just finishing instinct. He just had nothing. He was like, nope, I'm going to play with my food like a toddler, meshing my peas in my mashed potatoes for the next 15 minutes, and that's what we got from that fight. It was just a one-sided ass kicking. So I was like, ever since then, and I know, like I said, CLD is a very high-level guy, not to take away from CLD because he's extremely talented. We just saw what he did to RoboCop, but that was just a god-awful look. And then after that, it gets Nick Klein. Nick Klein, I had hopes for him. Nick Klein just doesn't want to be here. He doesn't have the heart. He just gives up. If he can't get a submission in the first 2.5 minutes, he just gives up. He almost had it against Pulyaev. He just couldn't get it. Now, the fight that really stood out to me about Pulyaev, that was just not a good look either. That kind of made me really be like, yep, Ateba Gautier, almost a lock. I mean, pretty much a lock this week. Is his fight against, what was his name? It was Anvardik Danielopekababa. You guys can see this name right here. I'm going to have the clip playing in 3, 2, 1. You can watch it. I got a couple of clips probably playing of this fight. He's fighting this local Russian dude. And I will say, to respect to him, this guy, now his record at the time was 4-0, but he's 11-1 right now, and his only loss was because of a disqualification. So, honestly, a very respectable opponent. But, I mean, oh my goodness gracious, he was playing with Andrey Pulyaev. I mean, he had him folding over. He folded over and, like, gave up at least 3 times throughout that fight, but the ref was just like, I mean, it wasn't like he just gave up. He just kind of, like, cowered over, and then he got back up, and he was trying to avoid shit. I mean, he got his ass handed to him on a silver platter in that spot. And it just goes to show. It's not even against Andrey Pulyaev. It's not like I dislike him or anything like that. He seems like an all right dude. It's just, I just don't think he's a very high caliber level of a fighter. He has the kickboxing base that's pretty decent. He just doesn't have a ton of power. He's not the fastest guy. And now he's going against an absolute specimen like Ateba Gautier. We don't even need to talk about Ateba Gautier. At the same time, I will say Ateba has had a lot of can crushing. So on the other hand, like he has been fighting a lower level of competition. Once he starts to ramp it up and face better and better guys, obviously he's not going to be these minus 1,000 favorites that he's been in those last couple fights. It will start to tighten up quite a bit. It's just I don't think Andrey Pulyaev is that guy. I think he's a pretty one-dimensional kickboxer. Not that great. Has chin problems. And it's just going to be a matter of time. Ateba Gautier is going to touch that chin. I guarantee you, Ateba Gautier probably has more power than that Russian guy. Even as good as that Russian guy seems to be, Ateba Gautier has freak of nature power. He hurts guys, they stop moving. So, Ateba Gautier, got to be a confident pick. That's my boy. Maybe I'm biased because I love Ateba Gautier, but he should get a vicious round 1 knockout. Maybe round 2. Vicious knockout incoming, though. But next up, we got Nikita Krylov versus Modestas Bukauskas. I don't know if I quite added Nikita Krylov to the ban list from his last fight, but if I didn't do it then, I'm damn sure doing it now. Nikita Krylov has proven time and time again that he cannot be trusted. Do not look at that underdog line and think that there is any value on Nikita Krylov, because there's not. There's not. Unless you're just saying, screw it, I'll take the coin toss. I'm feeling ballsy. At that point, I respect it. But you got to know, there's nothing different than flipping a coin, because Nikita Krylov, he's going to go into this fight as he's done in his other recent fights. He's going to come in here with the grappling advantage. Clear grappling advantage. Very high level grappler. Good submission artist. And he's going to get an opponent where he has a clear advantage on the ground. But what will Nikita Krylov do? He will not grapple. What will Nikita Krylov do? He will stand and bang, and he'll probably point at the canvas like Max Holloway, trying to get you to enter into a striking war, pointing at the ground against him, because he doesn't want to grapple. He has advantages, and he won't use them, and it's absolutely mind-blowing that he just continues to shit the bed. Now, breaking these guys' most recent fights down, this is where the craziness that he's driven me crazy. This is where it stems from. Now, his fight against Volkan Ozdemir. What was this? 2022, October 2022. I'll have some clips playing in this. He puts on an absolute masterclass performance against Volkan Ozdemir, mixing up the striking with the takedowns. Volkan Ozdemir, very high-level guy, respectable win. He absolutely puts in that work in the spot. Nikita Krylov looked career best in that fight against Volkan Ozdemir. Now, after that, he goes on and he fights Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann, death gasses out. I mean, Ryan Spann has 1 round of cardio. If he can't get you out in a round, it's not going to be a good look. So he gets the win there too. I'm like, okay, that I don't want to say that was a generational masterclass. It was just more so he got the win over Ryan Spann because he's going to get the finish early on. It is what it is. The fight against Dominic Reyes. This is when the frustration begins. All right, so when he gets knocked out in 2 minutes and 24 seconds, he gets put out like a dog. We all know how that went. The clip's probably playing right now. He doesn't even attempt a takedown. He's going against a very talented striker like Dominic Reyes. And in my mind, I was thinking, you know what? Maybe he's wanting to stand in and strike. He wanted to stand and strike, holy shit, on the feet against Dominic Reyes, because Dominic Reyes doesn't have the best chin. Maybe he's thinking, I can go chin for chin against this guy. I was like, okay, maybe. Gets knocked out, not the best look. After that performance, I'm like, okay, you just did the chin for chin battle. You realized that's not a game I want to play anymore. You can go into this next fight. It was against Bogdan Guskov. That's who it was. Against Bogdan Guskov. You have a clear grappling advantage over Bogdan Guskov. Who is Bogdan Guskov? Bogdan Guskov, in case you don't know, as you can see from his record right here, 17-3. Now he's 18-3. All of his wins are by knockout. I mean, literally, Bogdan Guskov. We will pull up his profile right now. Just making sure it's the right screen. Bogdan Guskov, you guys can see, 18-3. How many wins does he have by knockout? Okay, not every single one. 15 wins by knockout. You know what we're going to do against this guy if I'm his coach? Yeah, we're not going to strike. We're not going to stand and strike against this guy because he's going to knock our head clean off. But you know what we will do? Bogdan Guskov in his fight against Billy Elikana, as you can see right here. Boom, bada boom, bada bang. In his fight against Billy Elikana. Billy Elikana takes that fight short notice up a weight class on a couple days' notice. Billy Elikana gets to the back of Bogdan Guskov and ragdolls him and backpacks him for an entire round. Billy Elikana is, I believe, a blue belt in BJJ. I don't know how his coaching saw that and how he saw that and said, yeah, let's stand and bang with this guy. And even before that, Volkan Ozdemir choked him out in the very first round. There has been time and time proven again, okay, the path to beat Bukauskas is by grappling the guy, because if you stand on the feet, he's 15-1 to a knockout. He's going to probably knock you out. But what does Nikita Krylov do? He doesn't shoot a single takedown. He stands and bangs, and he gets knocked the fuck out. Oh! That just goes to show the fight IQ of Nikita Krylov and why he cannot be trusted. And for some reason, this line has tightened. I have no idea. Modestas Bukauskas was a larger favorite, but people are thinking, let's put money on Nikita Krylov. And this line has actually tightened. It blows my mind. I don't know why people would do that after seeing his last fights. However, with Modestas Bukauskas, this is the same situation. How this fight, I'm breaking this fight down, is going to be the exact same way I did with the Bogdan Guskov fight. With Modestas Bukauskas, he has a kickboxing background. He's a kickboxer transitioned to MMA. That's where his base was. Now he's an MMA fighter. He's been an MMA fighter for a long time, but we know that he has, I don't want to say holes in his grappling, but grappling is not his strong suit. His strong suit is on the feet with the striking. So what's the best way to beat a guy like Modestas Bukauskas? It's going to be to grapple him. Now, in Modestas Bukauskas' recent fights, Paul Craig, obviously grappler, he knocks him out. It was elbow from top position. That was a weird one. Yeah, ended right at the bell. But Ian Cutelaba, his chin held up pretty well there. Rafael Sakaria, absolute tin can. Marcin Prachnio. Now, he gets a triangle choke. When he secures this choke, he secures it from the wrong angle. He doesn't even have this choke locked in, and somehow he taps Marcin Prachnio out, because Marcin Prachnio is also a BJJ blue belt. So it goes to show the submission abilities of Modestas Bukauskas are not great. Now I'm trying to think. Vitor Petrino, I'll probably have that clip playing. The chin of Modestas Bukauskas has been tested before.
Seeing Petrino do nasty one shot. What a done!
But the thing that really stood out to me in this fight against Vitor Petrino, I'll have the clips playing of that too, is the grappling. Now, Vitor Petrino in this fight, he is ragdolling Modestas Bukauskas around like a little boy. I mean, he picks him up, slams him on his ass. Vitor Petrino had a ton of success in the grappling, and it just goes to show there's a path to beat Modestas Bukauskas. Grapple him, take him down, slow him down, then you can work on him as the rounds progress. And what are we going to see in this fight? It's probably not going to be that. Now, if I'm going to be eating my words, because when I'm breaking this fight down, after all that, we know Nikita Krylov is going to have the grappling advantage. He's going to be the better, more dangerous grappler on the ground. He has a clear advantage. Now, with Modestas Bukauskas, he's probably going to be the better, more accurate kickboxer on the feet. But we've seen both of these guys' chins are suspect. We've seen them both put out cold numerous times. So if this becomes a stand and bang, let's go chin for chin, maybe that's why the line's tightening, because they're saying, screw it, we can't trust this guy to stick to a game plan. It's going to be a coin toss of who's going to get knocked out first, and we'll take the plus money on Nikita Krylov. So all in all, if you're using your brain and you're thinking Nikita Krylov has a grappling advantage and you're thinking this makes perfect sense, he's going to come and point to the canvas in the first 10 seconds. That's probably how that fight will go. But if you pick Bukauskas and you're thinking, okay, I can't trust the grappling of Nikita Krylov is going to come out here looking like he did against Volkan Ozdemir and put on a grappling masterclass. So this feels like a lose-lose type of situation here. So I'll pick Modestas Bukauskas purely off of the fact that I don't think Nikita Krylov is going to stick to a game plan. Maybe I'll pick flip. Maybe I'll think, you know what? It's kind of like picking red on a roulette table twice. Maybe I'll just stick to it and I'll be able to stick with my results. Maybe I'll pick Nikita Krylov to actually use his brain and stick to a smart game plan. But we'll have to see. So honestly, for this one, I don't even have a good pick. It's a coin toss for a reason, but the value is probably on Modestas Bukauskas, I will say. But anyway, next up, we got Alex Perez versus Charles Johnson. Now, I feel like both of these guys do not get enough credit for what they've both done. On one hand, you look at Alex Perez, you can see, okay, he's 1-4 in his last 5. That doesn't look good. But then you look at the guys that he's going up against, and you can see, oh, he's going against Tatsuro Taira, Aso Mabayev, Mateus Nicolau, a bit chinny, but still got the win there, Mohamed Mokaev, and Pantoja. Not the easiest level of competition, so you look at the losses by his name, and it's like, you know what, Alex Perez, we'll give you a couple passes on that. When on the other hand, you got Charles Johnson, who is the prospect killer. I mean, this guy's been on an absolute tear, kind of like, what's his name? Like C-Rod. That's kind of how he's been tearing up these damn prospects. We saw what he just did to Loner Kavanaugh in China when he got on the mic and he was talking in Chinese. It was pretty funny. And before that, we saw what he did to Josh Van, put him out cold. We know Charles Johnson is an absolute demon. Now, in his one loss to Ramzan Temirov in the last couple fights, he ended up popping for steroids. Not Charles Johnson, but the Temirov dude. He ended up popping for steroids. I don't know how this fight did not get overturned or anything like that. Maybe it was long enough to where they said, nope, it's going to stay on his record. But Charles Johnson got screwed in this spot because he did pop hot for steroids. He is suspended for now. So that is not a loss that I really put a ton of value on because Charles Johnson probably should not have lost that fight. So I get why this line is wide. And honestly, the pick has clearly got to be Charles Johnson. I just think he's the better overall fighter. And I know he's older than Alex Perez, which is absolutely kind of crazy. With all the experience that Alex Perez has had, all the wars he's been in, I thought he was going to be the older fighter, honestly, going into this. But Charles Johnson is the older fighter. And somehow Charles Johnson is not getting the credit he deserves in this space. I really do think Charles Johnson could be the champion. I mean, if he were to rematch against Josh Van, I would pick Charles Johnson. I'll say that right now. If somehow, some ways, Charles Johnson gets a rematch against Joshua Van in a 5-round fight, I'm picking Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson is built for 5-round fights. He just hasn't had the opportunity to get there. And Charles Johnson is the type of dude where Charles Johnson could enter, and Charles Johnson he can knock out a top-ranked prospect, and he'll still somehow be ranked 15th. I mean, they refuse to give Charles Johnson a ranking, and they refuse to give him any chance to improve upon his ranking. It's absolutely insane. With Alex Perez, I think this is a path for Charles Johnson to win. Now, Alex Perez, I've said things about him in the past, especially when he fought Asu Almabayev. Nothing bad. He seems like a great dude. It's just more so Alex Perez at this point in his career, he does have ventures outside of the octagon. Like, he's invested in businesses, and he's a family man now. Like, he's definitely has a lot of things that are taking up a lot of his time outside of the cage. He's been dealing with a lot of injuries. I'll probably have the clip playing here at some point when he fought Tatsuro Taira, blew his leg out. It was pretty nasty. Bad injury there. So he's been dealing with injuries. He's getting older. He has interests outside of the UFC. You know, he's getting older. He knows he's not going to be a champion. So in terms of where his mentality is at, he's not as hungry as a guy like Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson is hungry. Charles Johnson wants it. I mean, at this point, 35 years old as a flyweight, Charles Johnson, this is his run. I mean, this is his shot. I mean, as long as he keeps on winning, he can keep moving up and keep moving up. But I mean, at this point, it's kind of like a Justin Gaethje type of a situation. This is it. And I think he could do it. Honest to God, I think Charles Johnson could beat Josh Van in a rematch. It's just how he gets there. He's going to have to pick up some wins. But I do think he's still very, very talented, very good. Charles Johnson is just so well-rounded. He should be able to win the spot. I think he's better than Alex Perez pretty much everywhere. Although you got to respect Alex Perez. He is by no means a bad fighter. He's a very talented guy who's just had a couple shitty matchups, honestly. He's had a tough run so far, and he's losing to very talented guys. But I do think Charles Johnson should get his hand raised here, get the job done. But anyway, next up, Michael Johnson versus Alexander Hernandez. This is a tricky one. This is a very tricky one because with both guys, they have obvious strengths and weaknesses. Now, with Michael Johnson, we just saw what he did to Daniel Zellhuber. Absolute masterclass. Beat his ass like it was nothing. Extremely impressive. Thing is, he's just 39 years old. Is Zellhuber doesn't have that raw athleticism that a guy like Alexander Hernandez has. Alexander Hernandez is a freak. I mean, the Great Ape is a solid nickname because you watch this guy, he's a ball of just explosive power. Now, he does start to slow down the longer that fights go. So if this fight does go long, I think it could be pretty tricky. You know, we've seen Michael Johnson has pretty damn good cardio. He can go long. I mean, we saw the war he went against Justin Gaethje years and years ago. I mean, that was an absolute insane back and forth where he has a lot of will to hang on until the very end. So we know both these guys are not going to quit. We've seen Alexander Hernandez. We've seen him knocked out a couple times throughout the years. Like Cowboy Cerrone knocked out. I'll have a clip of that playing in here, I think, a long time ago. When the hell was it? How long ago? Wait, no, it wasn't that long ago, was it? Oh, Charles Johnson. I was like, who the hell am I looking at? Sorry, I'm pulling you guys up. I had the wrong fights. I'm looking at Alexander Hernandez. Not that one. Look, bringing him down. When was this fight? It was 2019. That was a long time ago, but still, you watch this fight back, it's not really like he gets knocked out. It's more so an accumulation of damage, and it really starts to break him down over time. Same thing with the Drew Dober fight. He's not getting put out cold, no, it wasn't the Drew Dober fight. It was the Billy Quarantillo fight. He's, yes, standing knockout in the spot. He's not getting put out cold. It's just more so he's just accumulating so much damage. He wears it pretty badly in his face, and he starts to slow down the longer that fights go. So the cardio it's kind of the trade-off of him being so high twitch, like explosive muscle fibers in his body that comes with the downside of your cardio is not going to be as good with all that power. However, we know with Michael Johnson, he doesn't really have maybe as much explosive raw power, but he can go a little bit longer. So if this fight goes long, I can't say I'll be mind blown if Michael Johnson was able to be the more technical guy. It's just at 39 years old. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. We've seen Michael Johnson. We've seen him put out. When he gets knocked out, we have seen him put out cold. I mean, the clip of Diego Ferreira knocking him out, puts him out cold. I mean, he was stiff as a board.
There you go.
In that spot. Not a good look. So, in terms of how this fight goes, do I think Michael Johnson should be a huge underdog? No. I don't think Alexander Hernandez is the most technical guy out there. He's extremely physical. He's definitely in his prime right now. He seems to be in career best shape right now. I mean, he's on a little run too. What's his current win streak? 4-fight win streak right now. Put Chase Hooper out. I'll have the clip posted up here too. And that Chase Hooper fight, it was really a clear tell of the explosiveness of Alexander Hernandez that he has as an advantage over most of his opponents. He's just so fast and naturally athletic with that power. He'll catch you if you're not as fast. So could I see either guy getting caught here on the feet? Probably. I think someone probably gets put out here. Someone's probably going to get knocked out. I don't see this fight going 3 full rounds. That would be kind of crazy. Maybe it could, but Alexander Hernandez, I don't trust his cardio in the late stages to hang on if Michael Johnson's beating his ass. And Michael Johnson, when Alexander Hernandez is fresh, I don't trust his chin to be able to withstand the ass kicking from Alexander Hernandez. If Alexander Hernandez hits it with an absolute nuke in the first round, I could see Michael Johnson being put out cold. I mean, Michael Johnson is the type of dude to where when he's sparring, he's probably fighting to the death in sparring. I mean, he has absolutely no chill. He's like an older fraternity brother from hell. I mean, he just wants to put an ass kicking on everyone all the time. He's an absolute beast. You gotta respect it, but at the same time, all those wars will add up, and I do think if he gets hit with some nuke from Alexander Hernandez, he could get put out. So I'm gonna pick Alexander Hernandez for now. Not an extremely confident pick, because I will say Michael Johnson putting on a crafty vet masterclass like he did against Daniel Zellhuber in this spot would not blow my mind by any means. It would not surprise me. But I feel like at 39 years old, we're going to start to see him slow down. So I feel like the better kind of risk in this spot is to just go with Alexander Hernandez because he has that explosiveness to him. He's younger, faster, stronger, more power. So I'll go with Hernandez for now, but not the most confident pick. Next up, we got Josh Hokit versus Denzel Freeman. I know some people love Josh Hokit, some people hate Josh Hokit. I will say, though, he seems to be a pretty talented up-and-coming guy. He has that wrestling background. He's a former D1 wrestler, I believe, former college football player, too, as well. Or no, I think he played in the NFL, I believe. High-level football player as well, on top of that D1 wrestling background. So we know he's he's a naturally athletic guy. In the heavyweight division, there's not a whole lot of talent. He's had a ton of success so far in his short, early career. Getting into the UFC off the Contender Series win, good look. He had his first fight in the UFC, looked pretty solid. Now he's going against Denzel Freeman, who had a bit of a shit show in his first UFC fight. He's going against the up-and-coming, very young, Polish kid, I believe. It was a couple weeks ago before the break. And it was an all-right performance on back-and-forth striking on the feet. It just wasn't all that impressive. Now, do I think Josh Hokit should be a minus 250? Probably not. In terms of the striking, both these guys are decently green. They have decent level of training partners backing them up. I believe Denzel Freeman, I think he's training at the same gym as John Jones, I believe, because I feel like I've seen them training or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where my head's at for some reason in this fight. But anyway, these guys both are pretty green. Denzel Freeman, I believe he was in the military as well. He has some type of military background. So both these guys are kind of just heavyweight guys, naturally athletic. They kind of transitioned into MMA later on after in their careers, if you want to call it the football thing that, unless he's in the NFL. I was thinking more so college. But you get what I'm saying. A little bit later in life, they transitioned to MMA. They realized, there's not a ton of competition at the heavyweight level. I can be pretty decent. And this is where they're at so far. So I think both these guys have decent potential in the heavyweight division. Do I see either of these guys being absolute world beaters? Josh Hokit, maybe. 28 years old, he's very young for heavyweight division. I do think he has a lot more potential than Denzel Freeman at 34 years old. I don't really know how far he's going to get. But yeah, I mean, in this fight, you could look at it in the sense of Denzel Freeman. He does have a nice reach advantage. He's a southpaw going against the orthodox fighter in the spot. He does have that going for him. But I think Josh Hokit definitely has the natural wrestling ability. If he can land takedowns, I think he can control a guy like Denzel Freeman. Now, I will say, though, the thing that we've seen from Denzel Freeman, I don't want to say is a huge deal by any means. But the thing we saw is he recently fought, or a couple years ago when he fought Steven Asplund back in the LFA 2024, he was able to show off some of his grappling abilities. So I don't think he's going to be a fish out of water on the grappling sense. I just think Josh Hokit, that D1 wrestling background, he's going to be the better wrestler. That's as simple as it's going to be. In terms of the cardio, that could be interesting. If this somehow goes late, maybe Josh Hokit could death gas. Maybe Denzel Freeman could be have more energy left. But that's just kind of shoulda, coulda, woulda. We'll have to see how that goes. There's not a ton of evidence to really support that or go against that claim. So the pick's going to be Josh Hokit. I think he can take it to the ground, and he should be able to get to a top position, be able to control in terms of just controlling him on the ground. Maybe he routes up a submission. Maybe he goes for some ground and pound. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's a boring-ass fight. We'll have to see, but I'll go with Josh Hokit. I just think he has the higher skill cap. We'll probably go a little bit further in his career. and he has a couple upsides like the wrestling like we talked about. So that does it for this one. Now, next up, we got Ricky Turcios versus Cameron Smotherman. Now, Ricky Turcios, interesting case, because in terms of like a ratio of fame, in terms of like you as a person, fighter fame, to like a clip level of fame, Ricky Turcios is probably he has one of the highest ratios because if you've seen his post-speech interview that went pretty viral, I'll have the clip playing right now.
Believe in yourself. Don't fear failure. Dream big. Work hard. Stay positive. Enjoy the journey.
If you see from that clip's gone more viral than Ricky Turcios' whole career is. I mean, he's kind of like a Bryce Mitchell on crack. I mean, that's kind of how I could describe Ricky Turcios. He seems like a solid ass dude, though. It's just kind of funny. But anyway, he's going against Cameron Smotherman, young guy, up and coming. We saw him. He just lost to Ricky Simone, got grapple fucked in that spot. This is going to be an interesting match. I mean, it's pretty fun in terms of the matchup. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how it plays out. I was surprised to see Cameron Smotherman as a minus 220 favorite. I will say, I think this is going to be a bit more close than the odds suggest because both guys have really shown lapses in their, I don't want to say skill set, but the thing that concerns me for both of these guys is their durability. Now, if we compare some of their recent fights, so I got to switch this over real quick, bada boom, bada bang. Cameron Smotherman is an interesting guy because we've seen him knocked out before. Now, he got knocked out against Charlotte Grigorou on the Dana White Contender Series, and then before that, he got knocked out by CJ Jimenez. What was it? Fury UFC. I'm going to have both of these clips playing. Cameron Smotherman has a very interesting chin because he gets rocked and he looks like he gets put out cold, but then he just pops right back up. And every time he's been called off for a knockout loss, he like argues with the ref, like he's all pissed off. And I don't blame him, but at the same time, I don't blame the ref either because you watch these clips back and you're like, oh my God, it looked like he just died out there, but he's somehow doing fine and surviving. I was checking to see, got knocked out 2 times, both 2 times. He's not been happy about it. You watch, it's like his chin doesn't look bad, but it's when he gets caught, it's just not a good look. Same with Ricky Turcios. We've seen him caught multiple times too. We've seen him drop numerous times in multiple different fights. I'll have some clips playing to that. So I do have concerns about both guys. It's just with Ricky Turcios, he doesn't have that power. You look at his record, 13-5. 8 of his wins are by decision. He doesn't have that knockout power that should be a real threat to a guy like Cameron Smotherman, who I don't want to say he's chinny. It's just he's had times where his chin is not, it's kind of failed him at times in the past. So in terms of this fight, in terms of this matchup for Cameron Smotherman, I can see why he's a favorite. You know, I do get it because he doesn't have to worry about any damage coming in his way from a guy like Ricky Turcios, but I feel like it's a bit closer than these odds might suggest. In terms of putting any action on this is one I would rather just stay away from. I don't really think either of these guys are extremely high-level guys, you know, so it's you're kind of taking a little bit risk on a lower-level action between these two guys. Now, Cameron Smotherman is only 28 years old, so I could see him rapidly improving at quite a higher rate than a guy like Ricky Turcios, but at the same time, Ricky Turcios has shown a bit more against a higher level of competition. Now, when he won the Ultimate Fighter, was against Brady Heistan, actually a really respectable win there, a split decision win there, but still got the win there. Kevin Natividad, he got hurt in the spot quite a bit. I probably have already played the clip with that one, but still. And he lost against Raul Rosas Jr. and Bernardo Sopai. Those are both high-level guys. You got to put a lot of respect on those wins. Where you see Cameron Smotherman, now, he took that Ricky Simone fight. I believe it was very short notice in that spot, so you can't really blame him all that. Same with Siri Saidi, a pretty talented up-and-coming guy, too. Not a world beater, but you got to put some respect on it. But it's the wins, I guess. Jake Hadley, not the best. Ryan Mandala, not the best. Ryan Coos, not the best. It's like we haven't really seen these guys go on to do anything too impressive. So Fury UFC guys as well. So it's like, I don't know. In terms of the read on this one, I don't really have a strong lean. This is one that I'd probably just avoid overall. But in terms of the pick, I guess I'll go Cameron Smotherman, but there's just really not a whole lot behind that. I don't think the line's are quite worth that at all. But anyway, I don't want to wrap up, or I don't want to spend too much time on this fight because I really don't have a ton of insight for this one besides that. But anyway, next up, Adam Fugit versus Ty Miller. I was excited to talk about this one quite a bit because when I saw the lines, when I saw the odds on this one, I was mind blown. I have no idea why Ty Miller is a minus 400 favorite. You got to explain to me why that is a thing. I do not get it because you look at these two guys, in terms of the level of competition, people are just completely writing Adam Fugit off. Sorry, pull you guys over. He has fought in the much higher level of competition. Now, you look at his losses. Islam Dulatov, absolute specimen. You look at Mike Bolot, absolute specimen. Michael Morales, absolute specimen. I'm going to have some clips, or some screenshots. There's going to be some visuals in this. Now, we all know he got knocked out late in that fight. He won a round against Michael Morales. Adam Fugit did better against Michael Morales than Sean Brady. Let that sink in. And now he's a plus 310 underdog against a UFC debutant at 25 years old. I don't see how that makes sense at all. Yes, we've seen him have, I don't want to say lapses, but we saw him get caught against Michael Malott, round 2, guillotine choke, not the best look, but his win against Josh Quinlan, very respectable win. Yes, Josh Quinlan did get cut from the UFC, but I put respect on that. Josh Quinlan is a solid overall fighter, and I think if he had a better, or a different kind of, and I don't want to say outcome, but if he had a different matches, if in terms of his career, if he was placed against different guys, I could see him still being in the UFC at this point in time. He just didn't have the best run. He had a tough run there. And Islam Dulatov, absolute specimen. I think all these 3 guys that he lost to in the UFC would beat Ty Miller. So to have this wide of a line for Ty Miller doesn't make any sense to me at all. Now, I have some concerns for Ty Miller too. It's not even necessarily just the fact that, I think Adam Fugit is being completely underrated in the spot. I have some serious concerns about Ty Miller as well. Now, I forget exactly which fight off the top of my head, which one it was. I remember. It was the Arthur Barros fight. I'm going to have some clips playing from this fight. He's going against Arthur Barros. In this fight, Arthur Barros is a BJJ black belt. He gets to Ty Miller's back almost immediately. Now, this fight, as you can see, it was over no contest, 3 minutes and 30 seconds of the first round. I mean, it was very quick. LFA fight. If I have the clips playing, you won't be able to see it. But if they're not playing right now, you can see it from the record in 2024, December 6th. So fairly recently as well. Or this fight was pretty recent. And you could see in this fight, his grappling was a major concern. It was an absolute concern to watch, especially when he's going against a guy like Adam Fugit, who we know Adam Fugit is a BJJ black belt. Now, I don't know that for 100% certainty. What I do know for 100% certainty is that he was a BJJ brown belt as of 2022. It's 2026. So I think it's confident to assume that he most definitely could be a black belt by now. He probably is. But at the absolute worst case, he's an extremely highly experienced BJJ brown belt. I was going through his Instagram. I'll have something in here. I was going through his Instagram. He's like teaching BJJ to other people. It's like, I don't know if that's his full-time job or whatever, but still, it goes to show he's a very high-level grappler. And we have seen Ty Miller's grappling exposed against lower-level guys in the LFA. Now, he's a BJJ black belt, but still, his grappling was a major concern, and it makes sense. He's only 25 years old, and I believe he came from a boxing background as well. So how long has he had on the match training? Nowhere near a guy like Adam Fugit. Yes, he's 37 years old, but that comes with all the years of experience in grappling. I think Adam Fugit is a kind of a sneaky underdog play this week. Because if you go back and you watch his fights that he's had, he picked up a round. He won a round against Michael Morales on the judges' scorecards. One, that's crazy in itself. Yes, he got finished by Islam Dulatov. Yes, I get the logic here. We've seen Ty Miller in some of his recent fights. I believe, what was his most recent fight? Jimmy Drago, he hurt him multiple times, but he didn't knock him out. I believe it's Ryan Charlebras, his most recent one. I'll have a clip of that in here. He knocked the guy out. It was pretty nasty knockout.
Charlebras hit the kick. Oh my goodness! Ty Miller connects!
We know he has power, but does he have Islam Dulatov level power? Does he have Michael Morales level power? I don't know. At 37 years old, I don't think Adam Fugit is just completely washed and you got to write him off. I think if he comes in here with a heavy grappling, heavy game plan, he could have a lot of success. That's the last thing I want to say about this fight too, is Adam Fugit actually sticks to a pretty smart game plan in his fights. As you can see, I'm going to have the clips playing. It was either the Michael Morales fight or the Islam Dulatov fight. It was one of the two of those. He comes in, it could have been, or could be both. I'll have the clips playing. If it's both, you'll see both fights right now. But he sticks to a smart game plan. When he knows he's at a striking disadvantage, he comes in with a grappling heavy game plan. He comes in here, I know, especially against Michael Morales, he was landing control, he's racking up control time, going for takedowns, even if he couldn't get him. He's like, screw it, I'll just hold this guy against the cage. I'll do whatever it takes to win this round. And I think against a guy who's as inexperienced as Ty Miller, he could have a lot of success doing that. And if we know that he's going to stick to a smart game plan, we know he's likely going to come into this fight going for takedowns, racking up control time. That's going to be his game plan. And if he could get to the back of Ty Miller, he could be a real problem because he's going to be the much more dangerous grappler. So in this fight, I really feel like it's Adam Fugit by either submission or decision. Maybe he's able to control him and just absolute wrestle fuck his way to a decision win, possibly. But I feel like the submission could be very live. Or it could be Ty Miller knocking him out early on if Adam's not able to land the takedowns. That's how I see it. Probably Adam Fugit submission or Ty Miller via knockout. If it goes to a decision, who the hell knows how it could go. But minus 400 for a Ty Miller, just straight up. When we've seen the grappling holes in his game, and we know for a fact that Adam Fugit has that grappling strength to exploit a guy like Ty Miller, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. So anyway, guys, that should do it. I think that's the last fight of this card. Yep, that does it. So anyway, guys, The breakdown was a bit longer. I know it's going to be a little bit over an hour, but I wanted to come back with a bang for the new year. First card of the year. I wanted to have the clips. I want to make it very thoughtful, and I want to make it very detailed, have a lot of depth to this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, drop a like, and please drop a comment too. Let me know if you made it this far. Drop a comment. Let me know. I really appreciate you guys who watch the videos all the way through. It takes a ton of work and effort, but I love making it for you. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found some value for it. And if you did, like I said, drop a like, drop a comment. Really appreciate it. It's great to be back. Super excited for 2026. We have some absolute banger videos coming. I got a ton of stuff planned, a ton of stuff I'm working on behind the scenes that I'm going to be excited to announce here in the next couple weeks or months. Very excited, but your boy's been working, but we're excited for another year of UFC. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be a banger, and I can't wait to bring out more videos for you guys. So anyway, in the meantime, it's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA, and I'll see y'all soon. So peace.